Advantage Red Bull. Spain was the first of two home races for the Ferrari drivers and the race where Ferrari were bringing their slightly delayed upgrade package as well. So it was the race that really was the one to be for Ferrari, where, they were hoping to come out on top. They were hoping to have closed up that top speed deficit they had to Red Bull and kind of become the supreme car that was almost unbeatable. In terms of how they were beaten in Spain, partially their own fault. We'll get onto Sainz in a moment for sure. But the reliability issue and the DNF for Charles Leclerc was really disappointing. He had dominated the weekend. He was dominating the race. It was certainly his race to lose. So a real shame for him to see a car failure be the thing that took him out of contention. It was another race where Sainz really needed to come out and show his worth, especially when Leclerc failed to finish. And once again, kind of putting into question what Ferrari are doing, why they've re-signed him so early, maybe is a question that is starting to come into consideration by some now. He's seeming to not handle the pressure of being in that car well. He was good in a car that he could outperform, but in a car that is performing very strong at the front of the grid, he seems to be struggling with getting to grips with it, getting the handle on it to really put the pressure on like Leclerc is. Now, I was giving the benefit of the doubt on when Ferrari should make that call to kind of back one driver, as we know Red Bull are already doing, and I feel like this is the time now. They home race, should have been a home race hero, and instead didn't even finish on the podium in arguably the fastest car on the grid due to a mistake that, yes, was a wind, but also Verstappen had the same kind of situation and didn't lose it quite so badly. I don't know, it's a difficult one to discuss, because if it was the change of wind direction through that corner that threw him off, or something snapped with the car, it's difficult to know whether that's driver error or not, and it kind of is out of his control that the wind changed in that way, that it did what it did. But still, it was yet another race where Leclerc didn't finish very well. Sainz should have been up there to optimize for Ferrari and wasn't. So it has to come up to debate now as to, I think enough is enough if Ferrari want to win them both, because at the moment they're handing it quite significantly to Red Bull, where they did have the advantage. And I do think if Ferrari want to win both championships, they need to play the game Red Bull is playing, and now is the time to do it. They need to say to Sainz, look, you are too far off. You're behind Russell in the driver's standings, who is a driver who is not competing for the championship at all. So for Sainz to not be in the top four, that's not good for Ferrari. And also it's just handing Red Bull the advantage in the constructors. They need two consistent players. And I wonder if, they take the pressure off Sainz in this way by saying, look, mate, enough is enough. Kind of like, you're not going to be challenging for the championship with this year. We need you to support Charles. We need you to support Leclerc and play the team game. I wonder if that'll almost take the pressure off his shoulders and enable him to drive in a way we've seen him drive in years gone past. It's confusing why he seems to have been the guy you want in the car at times of high pressure situation and the smooth operator, if you will. But this year it's just not been there. He's not been performing well at all, and he's not been optimizing, especially in the way that Leclerc has, but also when Leclerc hasn't, he's not been there to optimize as well. And Red Bull just seem to have a better handle on the whole thing. So speaking of Red Bull, a nice 1-2 for them. Debatable, again, if anyone was surprised that Red Bull pulled the team orders and put Verstappen in front, I don't know why you're surprised. That's the way this team works. It is Verstappen's team. Perez is playing second fiddle to the Dutchman. It's how it worked last year. It's the reason Ricciardo left back in 2019, I think. So it's not new information. That's how Red Bull have always worked. The team is built around Vettel. Now it's built around Verstappen. When Verstappen's older and moves on, it will be built around the next young driver they pull through the ranks. It's just the way the team works. I was surprised Perez did it because he put up quite a fight on the radio. I did think he was going to maybe not, and maybe kind of be like, no, I got here on pace. I didn't get caught out by the wind in turn 3. I deserve to win. But alas, proving again why he's a really good second driver for that team and really good fit for Red Bull. Very consistent, is always there in the top in the fight when there are points to be picked up. He's always there or thereabouts, and yeah, a good team player, as proven. Hopefully swings and roundabouts will come to him at some point, and at some point it'll be his time to shine. But in terms of what Red Bull needed to deliver this weekend, yeah, that was a wonderful race weekend from Red Bull, and you know, the way the cookie crumbles. It's what Ferrari needs to do, otherwise they're going to lose both championships. Speaking of Russell, another great podium for him. Russell is very good at being in the right place for when issues befall the top four. He knows he's not in a car that can challenge for those top fours on pace, but he's always there. He's always hovering around P5, P4, so that if something does happen, that's how he's picking up these podiums. It's another podium to keep him ahead of Carlos Sainz as well in the Drivers' Championship. Behind him in fifth was Hamilton. A bit of an interesting race for Hamilton in terms of the strategy and the way that played out. Russell played a good race, and Hamilton did seem to struggle just that little bit again, which is a kind of pattern we're seeing this year. I think Russell just has the better handle on this car, and I've mentioned it in previous videos of the sense that Russell is used to dealing with cars that are difficult to drive, that aren't quite as nice and act as expected, if you will, whereas Hamilton hasn't had that, if at all, not for a very long time. So it's a lot more for him. He's used to getting in these Mercedes and them doing exactly what they want and being built for him in his driving style, and he can't seem to get to grooves with this specific car, which is hurting him and is showing and seeing advantage to Russell. Do I think Hamilton's lost all of his talent in the space of 5 races? No. Do I think if that car starts to show good again, he'll be up back fighting at the front? Yes. Do I think it'll start to show good again? There was a lot of discussion about that this week, about Mercedes' return. I never believed it, and I think the race proved that. It's very easy for, I mean, I think they've got on top of some issues they were having. The problem with Formula One is once the season has started, you don't have any in-season testing, really. You don't have any real time to do any development work outside of the racetracks. So you're kind of working with what you've got. There aren't many developments, any massive developments, if you will. So it's not really a case of, I don't think Mercedes will be on par with Red Bull or Ferrari all season. I just think that's the way it goes. That's the way it is because of the way the formula works. So I think they'll get faster. I think they can establish themselves strongly as a third place team, but I think Ferrari and Red Bull are going to remain just out of their reach. There'll be some circuits. We may see Monaco where speed and stuff isn't quite so important. It's much more of an aero track. We'll see if they have the, well, not the advantage, but if they're back on par with the front runners next weekend for Monaco, we'll see. But yeah, in terms of longevity over the season, I think they're fighting for third fairly competitively. I don't think they've really got too much of a challenge behind them for third. They're kind of where Ferrari were last year. They're not in the title hunt, but they're not in the midfield battle. They're in kind of a weird grey area on their own. And where there'll be some race weekends where some of the midfield teams will put some pressure on them, I think in the end of it, they'll come out third in the championship. Sixth for Bottas. He was trying hard to keep his ex-team behind him, but alas, I think the tyres let him down at the end there, and the strategy that Russell and Hamilton were on paid off in the end to get them to jump him. And to round off the top 10, we had Esteban Ocon, Lando Norris, and Fernando Alonso and Yuki Tsunoda. Not a great home race for either of the Spaniards, though Alonso did a fantastic job starting from the pit lane to come all the way up to score some points in the end as well. So a good race from him, not such a good race for his fellow countrymen at their home Grand Prix. Another strong race for Norris where Ricciardo is not really anywhere in this car. Ricciardo ending 12th, quite a way off of Norris at the checkered flag. It's obviously we're having kind of the Red Bull effect in McLaren, I think, in the sense that that team is built around Lando Norris. The car is set more for him, and as much as Ricciardo may be struggling to get onto terms with it, I feel like Ricciardo's value as a driver is being diminished. This season is not going well for him at all. It comes off the back of a very poor season last year as well. He had his fluke win in Monza, and I will call it a fluke win because it was a fluke win. The top two runners took themselves out to even give that opportunity. So I'm not going to say that he didn't do what he had to do to get that win, but the team also told the drivers to hold station, so Norris wasn't attacking from behind. So he didn't have any pressure from second. And he couldn't replicate that performance anywhere else at any other race during the season, whereas Norris has been, or was last year at least, kind of a semi-frequent feature on the podium. So again, the team is definitely more Norris. They're kind of investing in Norris. Norris has come up through the young driver program, don't forget, as well. So it's definitely in their interest to kind of keep the focus on Norris. But I just don't... Ricciardo's never really gelled with the McLaren since he got in it. He's struggled with it from the beginning. He hasn't been able to replicate performance in a car that last year was very strong. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on Ricciardo, but in terms of where he could end up next year, I think he's out of contract with McLaren this year, and if I was them, I wouldn't be looking to extend that. He's not showing anything to make me believe he should remain in that car. Where he goes, don't know. I'm sure he can find a seat somewhere. I'm pretty confident there's going to be an Aston Martin seat up for grabs at the end of the season, so maybe he'll go there. Do you know who I think would be a lovely fit in McLaren though? Mr. Pierre Gasly. Didn't have the best Spanish Grand Prix, ended 13th, but he is pretty rapid, and I've stood by this for the last few years, but he certainly needs to get himself out of the Red Bull program, because I don't think they're going to be re-promoting him, especially with Perez doing so well in the senior team as well. Because Red Bull aren't very good at going back and re-putting people in their car that were in their car before. So if I was Gasly, I'd be looking for a move. I think McLaren would be a really nice suit for Pierre to kind of get into a better performing car. He's very comfortable at AlphaTauri. He knows the team, he knows the car, he knows it like the back of his hand. But I feel like for him in his career, he needs to move on from that. And for that, I think McLaren's a really good fit with him. So if that happens, you heard it here first. I do declare on this day that Circuit the World predicted Daniel Ricciardo to Aston Martin and Vettel to retire, that's what I was alluding to earlier, and Pierre Gasly to McLaren. If it happens, someone needs to buy me a coffee or something, because I totally aced it. In terms of the actual Grand Prix, wasn't the most interesting. The Spanish Grand Prix isn't really known for its exciting races. There's a few overtaking opportunities, but it's just not the track really that alludes to close wheel-to-wheel action and tight racing, and even before Leclerc had gone out with his reliability issue, he was 7 or 8 seconds down the road, I do believe, if I'm remembering correctly. It's not really normally a tightly contested race. Moving ahead though, to look ahead to the Monaco Grand Prix, that should be a little bit tighter, hopefully, maybe, who knows, it's Monaco, anything could happen. Last year was pretty mundane. Definitely watch on Saturdays, all I can say. One thing about Monaco is it is under threat of falling off the Formula 1 calendar. I know. Would it be a shame? Would it not? That's the real question. It's not the most exciting race, no, but it does hold a lot of history and heritage in the sport, and I think it holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts because of that. Now, if you're sitting there going, we should only go to racetracks with decent racing, I have many tracks on this calendar that should have already been gone and some that maybe should come back. So that's probably not the thread to pick on this one. I feel like it will stay on the calendar. I don't know what the hold-up is, why they're in, or what the negotiations are. Sorry. I feel like it's my understanding is that Monaco don't pay for the Grand Prix, and it could be a sense that Liberty are like, you've got to pay for it now. And Monaco are like, no, we've never paid for it. We're not paying for it now. So, yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't fall off the grid, off the calendar. Sorry, but do let me know your thoughts about that and all of the Spanish Grand Prix action down in the comment box down below, and I'll be sure to carry on the conversation down there. I know we didn't talk through the entire grid today, but quite frankly, not a great deal happened. But we'll be back shortly for the Monaco Grand Prix track talk, where we talk out all of that good stuff. Heads up, moving forwards, I think Baku will still be here, but moving forwards for, I think it's the 3 races through the summer, we won't be in this location. I will be gallivanting around, so we'll be filming wherever we can film, but do not fret, they will still come. I know I've been a bit slow off the mark with these, and there's been some strong delays, and there's a whole load of things going on behind the scenes as to why, but hopefully we're starting to get back into a bit of a groove and I can stay on top of these. Let's be hoping. I've certainly said that before. But yeah, still let me know what your thoughts about the Spanish Grand Prix, the upcoming Monaco Grand Prix, all the other good stuff down in the comment box below, and I will see you down there to carry on the conversation. But for now, thank Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It's been an absolute blast as always. If you enjoyed this video, go show that like button some good old fashioned love. And if you want to support the channel, go hit subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss next time I upload a video. Stay awesome! And I will see you all in the next video! Woo! Don't know what I was doing with my hands there, but you gotta mix it up every now and then.